All right, I am going to talk about the Aries New Moon and partial solar eclipse this March 29th in 2025. And so this first slide that I have here is a representation of some of the energy that I think will be expressed here. All right, so before we really get into the analysis, I do like to do a kind of grounding exercise. And if you aren't interested, of course, you can just skip this. I would recommend it because the whole point of studying astrology is this idea of energy alignment, and energy alignment is not something we just do with our minds, but it's also something that we do and hold in our bodies. So I ask you to close your eyes for just a moment. This won't take very long. And just begin to notice your breath. And the purpose of this is to help you feel your connection. So take a couple breaths, and I want you to start to notice from the base of your spine, a beam of light going down into the center of the earth. And it can happen really quickly. Boom, it touched, and now it's going all the way back up. And I want you to feel at the top of your head, kind of space opening, and through it, a beam of golden light is coming down, streaming through your head, and it's going down, all the way down your spine. Then it's actually going to loop up the front of you, and then it's going to fountain at the top of your head, going down into that grounding cord that you just established. If you were to look from the outside, you would see that you are a big beam of light connecting to the cosmos and then connecting to the earth, because as humans, we are both of these things. We are of the earthly plane, and we're also spiritual. And so imagining and connecting to this energetic cord, which we all can access, is a really powerful way to ground your energy and then connect to something bigger than you. And we like to think of this as energetic cleansing. You're just going to imagine that it's water running through you, cleaning out the pipes, and refreshing your energy. And this is actually where a lot of stagnation can happen in people, is they don't cleanse their energy body. So yeah, that was a grounding exercise. You can now open your eyes. And the reason that we do this thing is because, like I said, we are energetic beings, and we have the power to connect to this energy at any time. And so astrology is this amazing practice of learning about the principles, and then in our somatic body practices, we can feel ourselves connecting to energy. I'm going to talk about this eclipse, and eclipses have to do with the north and south node. And if you're not familiar with it, even if you are familiar with it, it can get kind of confusing. And so I thought I would make it understandable. So the first thing to know is that the nodes and the eclipses are related to each other. And what it is the moon and the sun, it's about their paths meeting each other. So the earth orbits around the sun, and the moon orbits around the earth. So in this diagram I have, it looks like the moon and the sun are orbiting around the earth, but that's not accurate. The sun's path there is representative of the earth's perspective of the sun moving across the sky, what it looks like it's doing from our vantage. And that's called the ecliptic. So where the sun moves in the sky, that is the ecliptic. And the moon has its own path in the sky that's based on its orbit. And so as you can see here, it says that the moon's orbit is inclined at an angle of approximately 5 degrees to the ecliptic. So it's a little bit tilted. And that means that the moon and the sun are not on the same path in the sky. And so the eclipses represent the points at which the path of the moon and the path of the sun meet each other. And where they meet is where the nodes exist. And as you see here, it says that the ascending node, or the north node, is the point at which the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic from south to north. So as you can see in the diagram, it looks like the moon is going up. And then the descending node, or the south node, is where the moon is going from north to south. So it looks like it's going down, and that's the south node. And then there's this diagram underneath the first one, and it says solar eclipse. And it just shows you what that is, and that is that the moon is in the path of the sun, the sun's path, and it appears to block it from Earth's vantage point, which creates this eclipse. So in astrology and other spiritual beliefs, the eclipses in the south and north node have significant meaning. And it can be a point of confusion, and as I've continued with my astrology journey, I start to see how the nodes are important. Oh, one thing I will note is that on the other slide it said that the nodes, it says over here there is an 18.6 year cycle, and so that represents the time it takes for it to pass through a node. So not that it takes 18 years to get to the next sign of a node, but so to get from like Pisces to Aquarius, it will take about, I think, 18 months, but for it to get back to Pisces, it'll take 18.6 years. So when we're in a certain node sign, it is significant. All right, so back to the spiritual beliefs. The south node is the source or the headwaters of life for us. It is our inner core from which our power comes, but to which we cannot cling. The south node teaches you underlying principles and energetic qualities of life. And the south node is this place where you retreat and also where you rejuvenate. So you go to the south node to remember yourself and to go back to your wisdom so that you can engage in the world properly. And so we need the south node in order to kind of get our life force energy. It's where we come from. It can represent our lineage, and it's where we go to, like it says, get this sense of the underlying principles of life. So to understand what our kind of inner power is. And once you have that inner authority and this sense of inner power established, then you can go out into the world and make something meaningful because you're right on the inside and you're connected to your sense of source. And so the south node, I think, gets a bad rep in terms of being this place where everything, it's comfortable, it's what you're used to, it's your karma. But the south node really should get more credit in that it is a place of rejuvenation and it's where we've come from. And yes, in this lifetime we're meant to expand, and the south node is important for keeping us grounded, teaching us about our inner wisdom, inner power, so that we can engage with the world properly. And then the north node is where you go to have a positive impact in the world for a sense of fulfillment. The north node allows you to express your inner wisdom for the good of the outer world. But if you lose your inner connection to the south node, then your work will be shallow and incomplete. So you can see how that connection to the south node is really vital in order to project or be in alignment with your north node work and to actually get that sense of fulfillment. They're both important to cultivate. And I would just like to acknowledge that this definition is from David Cochran. He's an astrologer and he has a YouTube channel called Evidence-Based Astrology. This was a YouTube video called Part 2, Rahu and Ketu, New Insights on What They Mean. And this is where I got the definition from. All right, so next, let's talk about the eclipse, just in general. And so eclipses themselves represent a time of energetic purging and then a kind of fast forwarding to another timeline after the purge. And yeah, there's this kind of energy in the air with an eclipse to be mindful of it, to kind of let it pass. And if you look up the definition of an eclipse, as a verb, it can mean to obscure or to surpass. And I think those are both really interesting because if we think of this idea of energetic purging, if it's obscuring something, it's obscuring the sun. So it's obscuring this vital life source energy. And so it seems like it might, something might not make sense to us, or something feels out of the ordinary. And that can cause a sense of reflection, or it can cause obscurity, can cause confusion, right? And it can cause you to question things. And then it has this other meaning of surpassing. And I think that's very interesting when we talk about this idea of fast forwarding to another timeline. And so at any rate, the obscurity, it does pass. The idea of it surpassing, there is this movement. So what was obscured might become clear, and that's where we get the purging, or the fast forwarding can come if that sense of surpassing happens, meaning you feel like you're moved to another timeline, like, oh, things just shifted really quickly, or I got this clarity really quickly, and now I can't see things any other way than this. And then I would just kind of like to affirm generally the purpose and utility of astrology. And that is that astrology can be a powerful tool to offer guidance about aligning with changing energy. It also validates what we're feeling individually and collectively, and gives us a language to analyze it and commiserate or to reflect. And then it also helps us to be resilient. So when we understand that things continue to change, we can see that difficult moments will also pass. Astrology also gives us this way to reframe negative moments or hard times, and see them having a bigger overall purpose or meaning, so that way we can keep moving and act accordingly. All right, so for this Aries new moon, I'm calling it out as a time where we will feel authentic and intellectual expression about the social order. When I was doing this analysis, overall the vibe of this new moon, it's complex, and the complexity I'll show you in the chart. And then the themes that came up were about deep thinking and self-reflection based on community and relationships, as well as authenticity and integrity in both how you express yourself to yourself and also to other people, and how that fits in our place in society or our socioeconomic hierarchies. And so these can be some of the deeper, complex themes. All right. So looking at the overall shape of this chart, the first thing I want to notice or point out is that there are many conjunctions, and that means that there's a high planet concentration in one area. And so that's occurring right here. As you can see, there's a ton of planets all clustered together. And another thing to note is that many of the planets are in the third house, and they are aspecting Pluto. So we can see that Pluto is a big defining character here. The next thing we're going to notice is this overall picture, which is a kite pattern happening in the chart. And there's also this grand trine happening as well. And so what we can see is that Pluto is making up one part of the leg, and then Uranus down here is making up another part of the leg of the kite. And then overall, the chart ruler is Saturn, since Capricorn is over here on the ascendant. And so Saturn rules Capricorn. And so it gives even more meaning and importance to Saturn and Saturn's aspects. And Saturn is also aspecting, or it's conjunct with the North Node. So it also is going to help us define what the eclipse will do too. All right, let's just focus on the new moon itself though. So to focus on the new moon means that we're just going to look at the sun and the moon. And A new moon occurs when the sun and the moon are right on top of each other. That's why you see it says 0 degrees here for both of them. They're right on top of each other. And the new moon, the reason that we look at it is because it sets the tone of the month. And if you think about the sun being masculine and the moon being feminine, you can think about them being these symbols of manifestation where you need both masculine and feminine to manifest. And so the new moon is this amazing time where the masculine and the feminine, they are in harmony. They're right on top of each other. So they're primed to create something together. And so it can be a great time to set intention and plant seeds. Okay, so I told you that this was a more complex new moon, and the reason that I'm saying that is because there's so many aspects. So between them, they have 4 aspects, including each other. And like it says, it confirms the complexity of this energy, because what I do is I look at the meaning of each of these aspects. And so that's 8 aspects to analyze just to get a picture of the new moon. Like I said, Pluto is a big player here. That's why it's in pink over here, pointing to Pluto. We notice that there's 3 conjunctions, and what that does is it amplifies the energy. So the aspect to the conjunction defines it further. So, just based on the sun, our awareness right now is on integrity and authenticity. And it's focused on communicating something clearly, and this is Mercury's influence. It's also interested in reflecting on the past and bringing it into present view with the moon. It's also holding a kind of childlike optimism with Neptune in our close daily relationships and self-talk, and this is related to the 3rd house. And the other driving energetic influence behind this is Pluto, and it's influencing the content of our communication. So what we want to talk to people in our close daily relationships about. And we are fixated on our patterns of daily life that either break or reinforce the social classes and groups that we belong to. Pluto being an Aquarius in the 1st house. And I'm going to synthesize this. I'm just breaking it down just a little bit. All right, let's look at the moon. The moon's vibe is about our emotions and mind going to thoughts of the past, how they relate to our present, and being more emotionally sensitive in our communication, self-talk, and daily close relationships. Its authentic expression may come out in compulsive eruptions of feeling related to self-image and our perception of our standing in our social order. So overall, like I've said, Pluto is the defining tone of the expression of our thoughts and emotions here. And Pluto is pushing us to obsessively think about how we understand ourselves and our social standing in our daily patterns. And Aries is wanting us to be authentic in our communication and expression in our close and daily relationships about those topics. And this also may influence the kind of media that we're consuming too. So you can see how this is a really complex new moon. It is dealing with topics that are not just about the individual, but how the individual fits in with the social order and how this is something that we play out in our self-image and that we reinforce it amongst our daily relationships. And so there might be a more cerebral energy here in terms of self-examination and that Aries desire to be honest and authentic and individuated, as well as realizing the ways in which we are a part of our social circles and our daily patterns, how they affirm who we are and who we think of ourselves as too, but how we think about ourselves is also connected to this bigger picture of our social standing. Okay, so I did start this presentation by talking about the eclipses and the nodes, and as we know, the eclipses and nodes are related to the sun and moon. So their appearance here is an important aspect to our analysis. So we looked at the planets aspecting the sun and moon to get a sense of the new moon, and now let's look at the planets aspecting the north node to get more of a sense of the eclipse. And the planet having that influence is Saturn. Before I dive into this, I just want to acknowledge that the nodes are technically the north node is technically in Pisces. The south node is in Virgo. And the new moon and that partial solar eclipse happening here, being in Aries, is the last wave of it being in Aries before it's fully in Pisces and Virgo, meaning the next subsequent eclipses. And so this is actually closing out the Aries and Libra south node, north node relationship. Another thing to note is that Neptune is about to change into Aries as well on March 30th, I believe, and it's going to stay there for 14 years. And so this is also on the precipice of another really big planetary change that, because it's an outer planet, takes much longer to move through a sign, and it's going to move into Aries. So this Aries energy being cultivated right here with this kind of last nodal eclipse occurrence, but then Neptune will move into Aries, and that's going to influence our dreams and part of what we are attracted to in our dreams, or what we see as ideal, is going to have a lot of remnants of this Aries energy that I'm talking about with the new moon. So keep that in mind. Okay, now let's dive into Saturn's influence. So first of all, like I said, Saturn is the ruler of the chart because Capricorn is on the ascendant for the time that I've pulled for the eclipse. It's locationally based. So the part of fortune happens to also be on the ascendant, and the part of fortune is a calculated point based on the sun, moon, and ascendant that holds meaning about an individual's overall well-being, prosperity, and success. So it actually has a lot to do with luck. And so I think it's really interesting here that Saturn, well, first of all, that's even occurring, and also, what Saturn is going to tell us about our luck. The next thing to note is that Saturn is aspecting the North Node, which we've acknowledged, as well as Uranus and Mars, which are the two other planets that are making a significant pattern or shape in the chart. And then the last thing I want to note is that Saturn is in the second house of material value and personal inner value in the house of Pisces, in the sign of Pisces. Okay, so Saturn's influence. Saturn has a bunch of aspects as well. Some of these are on the ascendant or the MC. So those aren't planets, but they're important points. So overall, with all this that is happening, like we can see, Saturn is trining Mars over here. It is sextiling Uranus, and it is sextiling the ascendant right here. And it's right on top of Neptune, our dreams, and it's right on top of the North Node, which is about the positive action we take to make a difference in the world. It's also right on Venus, and it's also on Mercury. Now, Venus and Mercury are currently in retrograde. Just to acknowledge that, I'm not going to dive into that a ton, but just acknowledging that that is occurring in retrogrades can be a time of reflection and to be mindful or to have backup plans. So anyways, Saturn at its core wants to get to what is essential. So overall, with all these aspects, what it means is that Saturn is pushing you to sincerely seek what positive action you can take in the world in an intuitive way. This is the Piscean influence, in an intuitive way, making sense of things that might seem like they come from different sources, but when you put it together, there's something there. So it's asking you to move in an intuitive way that at its essence will give you a sense of personal fulfillment. So let me just look at that again. Saturn is pushing you to sincerely seek what positive action can you take in the world that gives you this sense of fulfillment in an intuitive way. And because it's in the second house, it's going to be related to personal values and material value. So what you are sincerely seeking and the action you want to take to have an impact in the world is going to be related to what you personally value or what you think matters on the material plane. So Saturn is going to tell us how do we actually achieve that. And to find this most sincerely and essentially, and to activate your luck because of the part of fortune, Saturn is asking you to be analytical. And how do I know this? I know this because of the aspects, and I've done my analysis. This is my analysis. Saturn is telling you you can activate your luck if you are analytical. Be analytical. It's also telling you hone the power of getting done what needs to be done and be committed to that. Be open to immediate clarity and acting on it, and seek out immediate clarity. Be who you are at your essence around the people you know, and cultivate that. Hold that as an important thing of being yourself at your essence. Practice what is in your heart and soul that you want to show or project into the world. So is there anything that you want to bring out into the world that matters to you? Well, practice it and be strategic about it and hone in on the power of getting it done or getting done what needs to be done. Be open to immediate clarity you might have on it, and also cultivate and practice being yourself. And again, this kind of alludes to the Aries themes that are coming up with the new moon. And so this can be a great place to set intention about aligning to your authenticity, aligning to who you are, and that you can feel safe and seen with the people in your daily close relationships. And that the more you are authentic, and authentic is not a way to excuse poor behavior or to excuse sloppiness and just saying, well, this is who I am, take it or leave it. No, I mean, authenticity is this idea of your personality coming out in a way that feels real and true to you, not that you're putting on a mask of someone else or you're playing out what you think other people might like. It's this idea that it's who you just naturally feel like you are, and you accept it and you enjoy it. And if you're like, well, naturally who I am is I'm a negative person, chances are there's actually something deeper going on, and most people don't think that way about themselves, at least most healthfully minded people. All right, so I think that Saturn is doing this really amazing work of helping us make something beautiful here. And like I said, it's conjunct on the North Node. And so really what Mars is pushing you to do, Mars and Saturn are pushing you to just hone in on getting done what needs to be done. Because you can create something really meaningful if you are just true to, what matters to me. What is it that my heart and soul want to show or project into the world? And does it allow me and does it cultivate who I am at my essence? Okay, and speaking of Mars, I want to touch on Mars just a little bit. So we need to acknowledge Mars, not just because it is aspecting Saturn, but because, and other planets, but because Aries, in which the Sun and Moon is in, is ruled by Mars. And so Mars is going to also tell us more information about this new moon because it's the ruler of Aries. So at the beginning, we said that the new moon and Pluto arrangement will be pushing us to be authentic in our communication and expression in our close daily relationships, about self-perception and about how we see ourselves in our social standing, and whether it reinforces or hinders where we want to go. And then Mars is going to show us what the quality of the action will be when we face ideas about our self-image and our social standing. Okay, So once more, we're going to look at Mars aspects. Mars is up here, like you can see with the yellow arrow. Lots of aspects. All right, so Mars provides a sudden burst of energy to achieve a goal, accomplishing based on an attraction to beauty that is alive, visceral, and real. And this is what it's doing. Acting on what is in your heart and soul that you want to project into the world, and acting on positive impact for a sense of fulfillment. This is actually Mars influence right now, with it trining Venus, trining Saturn, trining the MC, trining the node, sextiling Uranus. You're just having this natural free-flowing energy to act on something that matters to you, that is beautiful to you, that you want to make it real and alive. So Mars gives us a lot of meaning behind the kind of action we take in regards to these new moon topics about being authentic in our communication, in our daily relationships, and also being clear and getting clarity and action about understanding ourselves and our social standing in this daily basis way and also in our daily patterns. So Mars might actually inspire you to take action that helps align you, or you might feel this natural energy to get done that which is important to you, that affirms the self-image of yourself that matters to you and also maybe elevates your social standing or elevates you to the place you want to go. Now, the kicker is that Mars is in opposition to the ascendant and the part of fortune. So an opposition is a place where you might share or have conflict because it's a polarity. So it's asking us, are you going to share or conflict in your interest about being authentic in your circle? Will you be authentic about the natural unfolding energy, or will you not show what is true for you and others? So Mars opposing the ascendant and the part of fortune, it can be a source of conflict in activating your luck if you don't act on this kind of energy that supports your self-image, or if you get kind of mired down in conflict with other people. And also this idea of maybe continuing to hide yourself. Mars and Saturn are helping you to really clear away that which doesn't serve you and to give you the energy to act on it. And it's really up to you. Are you going to participate in that natural unfolding and be authentic to that feeling and show the people who you care about, who are your neighbors, who are your family, your friends? Are you going to show them what is true for you, or are you going to hide that? And by hiding it, is it going to become actually a source of tension and conflict because you're actually not being true to yourself? And there is a cost of not aligning to this energy, and that is ignoring your soul's calling and the personal fulfillment that comes with that. And so this is a really amazing opportunity that we have to get true to what matters with us. And like I said, with Neptune moving into Aries, our dreams are going to be really about having a sense of individuation and also authenticity. That's going to be a really important topic and idea in the next 14 years is, are we authentic? We're getting so tired of AI trash, or the ways in which people lie to us, the ways in which systems don't serve us, or people have masks. We're so tired of that. What we're actually really craving is something authentic that feels real. You notice those words being used together, real and authenticity, tangible. Mars wants to make things tangible. And so for you, your opportunity is to make this sense of authenticity real for yourself. And that will be a great source of personal fulfillment with that alignment with the North Node. So in conclusion, since eclipses can be an energetic purge or a wormhole taking you to a new place, be aware of the ways in which you may feel conflict with others about defending your self-image or the groups you belong to. You may experience or witness ways in which your self-image or identity changes quickly to align with a feeling of authenticity and integrity that feels really important to you and your higher calling. That's what the eclipse might help you realize really quickly. And next, I want you to take note that this is an Aries new moon and that it will become an Aries full moon in 6 months from now. There's a typo, sorry about that. So in 6 months, we're going to see kind of the fruition of the seeds that we plant here. So that will be in October time. So the changes felt now will become more tangible in the time to come. And so, yeah, this is the time to plant the seeds about authenticity, acting on the energy, and doing it that which aligns to your soul's calling, and bringing alive that which is beautiful to you because it matters to you. So I'm wishing you wealth, health, happiness, love, peace, joy, and I hope that you take a moment to sit with this energy as you already did with the grounding energy, and if there's anything else you feel inspired to do, I hope that you listen to that calling. If you like these videos, I intend to do them more consistently, so please subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll see you in the next video.